'cause I see the born of no return. It's just ahead now, can't you see we're rushing for the end? I see the point of no return. Now see the point of no return. It's just ahead.
Well, good evening, debt slaves. Are you ready for another evening of pissing in massa soup? I want to welcome you all to yet another Tuesday. It's a little after 8 o'clock in the evening here on the East Coast of the United States. It's Tuesday, the last day of March 31st, 2015. Got to remember to wish my wife happy birthday. Happy birthday, dear. I won't tell you how old she is. If I did, I'd be sleeping in the doghouse for the next month. My name is Gary Hendershot. You're listening to Wide Awake News on the Rents Radio Network. And I hope you're all in good spirits, ready for a exciting evening of news commentary. You know, for the longest time, we've been denied any hard news out of Japan related to the Fukushima incident. I think, we're coming up on I think we just had the 4-year anniversary of let's call it what it was. The explosion of the nuclear power facility in Fukushima. And about a year and a half ago, the Japanese government put a lid on all news coming out of Fukushima. They barred reporters from reporting on the scene. They barred anybody who was working on the thing, anybody who knew it. And they basically put a cone of silence on hard news coming out of the Fukushima region. But recently, within the last few days, according to E&E News, there has been some reporting coming out. Let's see. Plant chief, no idea how to decommission reactors. Decommission reactors. To be able to decommission one of these reactors, there's got to be some of the reactor left. The technology does not exist. No viable method to deal with melted fuel. So many uncertainties. We don't have accurate information. Engineers declared the problems are insurmountable. This report comes out of the Times of London. This is from the 27th, late last week. Japan faces 200-year wait for Fukushima cleanup. 200-year wait. The chief of the Fukushima nuclear power station has admitted that technology needed to decommission 3 melted-down reactors does not exist. They're finally saying melted down. Now, many of us in alternative media were reporting that those reactors melted down 2 years ago. And we were scratching our heads wondering if we had a China syndrome scenario going on here. Well, in reality, the molten fuel from a reactor does not stay in a nice, neat bullet and just make for the center of the earth. No, it tends to spread out. It tends to mix with material in the ground. It does continue to burn lower and lower and lower. So far, they're saying that there is a high probability that only one of the reactors has had the corium melt clear through the concrete containment, and this one may actually be making for the center of the Earth. But eventually, it will spread out and dissipate. Lord only knows how long that'll take. The other two, the corium appears to be in a pool in the bottom of the concrete containment. It is interacting with the concrete. It's giving off all sorts of noxious gases and, of course, considerable amounts of airborne radioactive particulate nuclides. But now they are finally admitting straight up with no, legalese involved, yeah, 3 of those reactors melted down and the nuclear fuel has left the stainless steel reactor vessel. There are so many uncertainties involved. We need to develop many, many technologies for removal of the debris. We don't have accurate information about the state of the reactors or any viable methodology. Bottom line is nobody's been able to get in there with a video camera and take pictures. You can't get anywhere near those reactors. Even a brief exposure to the radiation will cook you. Okay? They can't even get robots in there with just brief exposure to the levels of radiation coming off of these reactors. The silicone chips are fried in no time. They've tried to send, these little 4-bladed helicopter things you fly by remote control, got a camera on them. They've tried a few of those. Apparently, they even wrapped one of them up in lead foil, thinking, okay, we'll put lead foil on this thing, and that allowed it to survive an extra 2 seconds. The radiation coming off of these things are so intense that they've not even been able to get good observation of just how bad it is. Well, now this is reported by the Telegraph out of the UK. This is from March 26th. Japan may be obsessed with robots, but it is a British company that has solved the impossible problem of visualizing the radiation leaks inside the crippled reactor buildings at Fukushima. State-of-the-art British imaging technology has been deployed at Japan's Fukushima nuclear plant to overcome problems that Japanese engineers declared to be insurmountable. The system is able to create a real-time, 3-dimensional image of the area being surveyed and identify radiation hotspots. Those of you watching the video feed can see over my shoulder an example of the type of imaging that's being done. This shows a reactor vessel and shows the fuel rods in place in this particular reactor. In images of the ones that have melted down, you can see the damage to the stainless steel containment vessel, and then of course you can see the pool of radioactive material sitting on the concrete floor of the reactor containment. 2 more reactors, they're going into the fact that 2 others have also melted down. Fukushima in the news. Now, the lesson of Fukushima should be that these light water reactors, particularly this antiquated General Electric and Westinghouse design, where you've got the spent fuel pools sitting 5-6 stories above the reactor room, this is a very dangerous design. Here in the United States, we have at least 27 reactors of exactly the same design as Fukushima, and of those, 16 sit on known fault lines or in areas that are subject to being hit with a tsunami, similar to what happened at Fukushima. So right here in the United States, right here in River City, you got a whole bunch of Fukushimas just waiting to happen. My question to our U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Agency is, Why are those nuclear plants still in operation? Why are they not? It takes 2 years to shut one of those damn things down. Why are we not proceeding to shut those very dangerous reactors down now before we have to learn up close and personal just how serious a problem it might be? There are alternatives. We don't need a magic free energy device. We don't need, little gray space aliens coming down here, giving us some whiz-bang technology. Frankly, if that's what you're hoping for, think again. But back in the 1950s, a very practical form of nuclear power was demonstrated using the liquid fluoride thorium type reactors. As a matter of fact, there was at least one test reactor running down in Texas right up until the late 1970s. It's a proven technology. Is it safe? Hell no. You don't want to be smoking near a big diesel fuel tank. I mean, when you're talking about large amounts of energy in a very small package, calling it safe is kidding yourself. But compared to these light water reactors that we're using right now, the LFTR type nuclear reactors are much safer. It would be virtually impossible to produce a Fukushima type device with an LFTR type reactor. It couldn't possibly happen. And the worst thing that could happen in a liquid fluoride reactor is that the stuff falls out of its containment vessel and the reaction stops and it solidifies. Then you got the problem of trying to melt it so you can get it back into the reactor and start over again. I don't want anybody to think that such a reactor is going to be, the be-all, end-all. But compared to these light water reactors that we're using now, and I understand there's more than 200 of these things around the world. There's more than 200 of these things around the world. So we've got 200 additional opportunities to experience a Fukushima at some point down the road. At what point do we wise up and realize, yeah, we need the energy. Let's face it, we need the energy. But at what cost? At what cost? I record these broadcasts along with a video feed and post them to YouTube. My YouTube audience isn't that big. I think I've got, maybe 3,000-4,000 subscribers. And my typical Wide Awake News presentation might get, 400 or 500 views over the course of a week. So I am certainly not a big-time YouTube producer. And I certainly do not depend on the AdSense revenues from YouTube to supplement my income. If I did, frankly, I'd be in a soup kitchen somewhere trying to get a crust of bread and a free bowl of soup. But, there are a lot of alternative media people out there, very solid ones, very good ones, ones that, are investigative journalists by nature and actually break news rather than being a talking head, just barking at the moon as if they knew what they were talking about. People like Loose Change. These people are actually producing alternative media broadcasts as their vocation. Okay? They do this professionally. They need to make a living at it because just like you, They've got mortgages to pay. They got to eat. They got to put gas in the car. They got to buy plane tickets to go see what's going on. They've got equipment expenses. They've got hosting expenses. I mean, frankly, to be real about producing news content, you got to be prepared to spend a few bucks. And traditionally, in the United States, the way a producer of content derives revenue is through advertising. Now, as much as we fight for internet freedom, as much as we hope for real net neutrality, some pretty big players have grown up on the internet. One of those players is an outfit called Google. Google is the parent company that owns YouTube. YouTube is one of the very few places where you can post your video content and sign up for a deal where you get what's called AdSense revenue. And it is cents, it's like, pennies per click. But if you're a popular producer, somebody like, say, Loose Change, those pennies add up. And a popular video, maybe you produce 8, 10, 20 popular videos every month. People have grown accustomed to that revenue to support their alternative media efforts. Well, Google, being the only game in town, has recently seen fit to flex its muscles a bit. Google has cut the revenue stream to another independent media source, demonetizing content on the We Are Change AdSense account, as reported Tuesday. The incident follows last week's shock announcement from antiwar.com that their AdSense account was disabled in a similar decision, with no explanation. The problem may be temporary for We Are Change, as it seems Google backed off anti-war as more significant independent media Gawker reported on the blackout. Bottom line is, alternative media is being targeted by Google where it hurts, in the wallet. If you're producing content hoping that AdSense revenue for placing ads on your website or placing ads on your YouTube video is going to generate a revenue stream so that you can afford to pay the mortgage, eat maybe once or twice a day, put some gas in the car, take a plane flight to where the big news is happening that week. I mean, if you're serious about your journalistic pursuit, you need a revenue stream. And with Google being the place to sign up for ad revenues, you think maybe this might be a mechanism of control being employed to silence dissenting voices? Frankly, on that one, you're going to have to consider the facts. And I suggest you get over and, read the article. This particular article came off of WTFRLY.com, WTFRLY.com. I'll let you figure out what the initials stand for. You might want to get over there and read the article and make up your own damn mind. Links to all of the articles that I'm discussing tonight will be below the video in the About This video. If you go over to smartscarecrow.com and look for the blog entry for March 31st, you will find links to all the various articles that I'm commenting on tonight, so you can read these articles, consider the facts presented, and as always, make up your own damn mind. Now, say something like this, gets under your skin and you're pissed off. You say, well, I'm going to punish Google. Good luck with that. I have not used the Google search engine for some years. I went to a search engine called startpage.com, and there are many other search engines you can use in lieu of Google, but most of the websites that you're going to visit, if you just go cruising the internet, you're going to see advertising supporting that particular web presence, and chances are those ads are being provided by Google's AdSense program, and that's how many websites pay their way. When you start talking about the expenses of hosting and computers and email accounts and internet accounts, you can't put something like this on for free. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the Rents Network. It's amazing to me that they're able to produce the high quality content they do and air it basically for free. The advertising, I can't imagine. It really supports the enterprise. I'm hearing the music. I'm going to have to slip out of here for a few minutes while the studio runs some of those all-important commercials to keep the lights burning, and I'll be back right after they're finished. All righty, and we're back from that blatantly commercial interruption to the evening's festivity, but now you know just how important those commercials really are. If you wish to support sources of independent media, this is another one of those occasions where the most important vote you've got is to vote with your dollar. If there are one or two or three or four alternative media sources that you've grown to count on, that you appreciate for their material, I suggest you think seriously about opening your wallet and making a contribution. And what these folks really need is they need, regular contributors, somebody who'll be Johnny on the spot with $5-10 every month. I mean, if somebody like We Are Change had 1,000 people who were sending them $5, $10, $15, maybe $20 a month, every month like clockwork, as just compensation for the material that they produced, then I think you could probably count on the fact that they'd still be producing content well into the future. If you cut these guys off at the knees to where they cannot pay their bills, that they're going to have to, quit doing their alternative media production to get a regular job to pay the bills, you will find that the alternative media that you've grown to depend on for an alternative slant, an alternative spin on the day's event, will dry up. They will not have to pass laws. They'll kill us by depriving us of revenue. Now, last week we reported on a terrible airplane crash where, at the time I reported on it last week, everybody was still scratching their heads. It had just happened. Nobody really knew what had gone on. Some additional information's come out on this. Now, to be honest with you, from my point of view, it's still mired in speculation. I mean, I'm not convinced that some of the reports I've heard are really accurate. A lot of it sounds like, they're trying to put, a fuzzy spin on it. But, let me bring you up to date on what's been determined. It appears that the 27-year-old co-pilot was in control of the airplane. The pilot had left the cockpit to go to the little boy's room, and on his return, the pilot could not get back into the cockpit. Now, on these German airplanes, there is no real lock on this door to the cockpit. It's not like, there's a code you can punch into a keypad in the galley that's supposed to be able to open this door. So it appears that the door may indeed have been purposely sabotaged in some way, because in theory the pilot should have easily been able to get back into the cockpit. Apparently the flight recorder recorded 5-6 minutes of passengers screaming and the pilot attempting to break the door down. It's also indicated that normal breathing could be heard from the cockpit, so it appears that the co-pilot was just sitting there, comfy, cozy, perfectly normal situation as far as he was concerned, while all this banging on the door and passengers yelling and screaming was going on behind him. Now, reports have come out that this co-pilot may have been depressed. Nobody has come right out and said he was taking SSRI-type drugs, which have been suspected of causing suicidal thoughts and behavior in many previous cases. As a matter of fact, a lot of the mass shootings that we reported on here in the United States, when you look real deep, you find that this person was coming off of SRIs or was taking too much SRIs or not enough SRIs or whatever. But these SSRI class of drugs, the Zolofts and the so on, have been implicated in many of the mass shootings, and it may indeed be a fact that this co-pilot was having a bad reaction to these psychotropic drugs. Some reports have come out that indicate that this co-pilot had just converted to Islam. So now we've got, the Islamic terrorist connection made here. So who knows? Maybe what Muslim country have we not blowed up yet? Maybe this will be an excuse used to blow up yet another Muslim nation. Who knows? But the problem is a lot of the stories, sound kind of fishy. Here again, this, for all we know, could have been a mechanical failure of some sort, and they just don't want to admit that it was a mechanical failure because, frankly, this Airbus airplane is, one of their better sellers. They don't want to admit there's anything wrong with the airplane. It's much easier and more convenient to blame this tragedy on the pilot. The guy's just a kook, that explains everything. Oh, ain't nothing wrong with that airplane. Ain't nothing wrong with that airplane. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bottom line, you're going to have to consider the facts that are available on this one and make up your own damn mind, because that there are many stories out there. Some of them I feel are conflicting. Bottom line, 150 people are dead. If there really is something wrong with this airplane, it'd be real nice if they fessed up and fixed it, because this is a very popular airplane. These things are flying every day. They fly, many people, many places all over the world. So it would be nice if we could trust the reporting on such incidents and think, everything's hunky-dunky-dory. They know exactly what happened. But considering the past, I'm a little skeptical. You consider, and as always, make up your own damn mind. News just came out that one of the people that I just love to hate, good old Harry Reid, has decided to throw in the towel. Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid, Democrat from Nevada, says he intends to retire at the end of his term in 2017, but he may still face legal pressure before he leaves. Now, here's the backstory on this. Harry Reid's son was like, an attorney for a casino. And this casino, the SLS Casino and Hotel, wanted to get a bunch of these EB-5 type visa people in who are willing to work real cheap, a lot cheaper than the local folks in Nevada. So they needed a little help with Homeland Security, get these folks in. And apparently Harry Reid's son, who represented the casino, whispered something in Harry's ear. Harry went to his friends in the Department of Homeland Security, and the visas were issued, and everybody was happy. And we do not know for a fact that some cash was slid under the table, but it looks fishy. The Senate Ethics Committee, if it examines this independently, would see this as an instance of Reid bringing reproach upon the Senate. But there is also the issue of criminal conduct. This requires further investigation. There is no doubt in my mind, this is a fellow by the name of DeGeneva, that an independent Department of Justice or an independent U.S. attorney would open a preliminary criminal investigation into Harry Reid's intervention into the expediting of EB-5 visas and would, in addition, convene a grand jury. Hey, as far as I'm concerned, couldn't happen to a nicer fella. Yeah, I'm hearing the music. I've got to slip out of here for a few minutes. Be patient with me while they try to keep the lights burning. Alrighty, that was our last break for the evening, which means I've got about 12 minutes to get through a considerable pile of articles here. Those of you who would like to watch the after show presentation, if you navigate to http:/smartscarecrow.com/live, chances are I will be running long tonight because I got a lot more articles here than I'm really going to be able to get through in the 1 hour I'm allotted on rents. Let's see here. Harry Reid. First of all, I hate to say it, but it doesn't look to me like a piece of exercise equipment did this. I mean, if I was a betting man, I'd say Harry got the crap beat out of him. Now, hey, that's my opinion. My opinion. And $5 get you a cup of coffee at that fancy yuppie place where they charge you too much for a cup of coffee. But needless to say, Harry may not have come through on one of his obligations, and Guido might have paid him a visit. I just don't know. But in other political news, she has been called inevitable. The immovable object, the unstoppable force, she is the Hillary. Yes, Hillary Clinton, the so far front-running Democratic hopeful for president in 2016. Now, the question is there another Democrat out there who might be able to whoop Hillary? Because, Hillary's got some baggage. This email gate issue of hers is getting deeper and deeper, and it's looking like, the Democrats may have to think seriously about another candidate. But so many out there will say, the only reason you're coming down on Hillary is because you don't like women. Guess again, I like women very much. Give me the right woman, and I would happily elect her president. Hillary Clinton? Well, now, the Republicans have once again tapped their female ammunition and have come up with Carly Fiorina. I hope I said her name right. Now, Fiorina's been around for a long time. I come out of the IT industry. I know Fiorina as the woman who destroyed Hewlett-Packard and shipped all the good jobs overseas. So, yes, I have a bone or two to pick with Ms. Fiorina. Is this a candidate I could get behind and support 100%? I remember when, if you had an HP printer that was 10 years old, you could go to the HP website and very easily, very conveniently download the driver for the latest version of Windows. You know, if your customer just upgraded to, I don't know, Windows 15, and you had a 10-year-old HP printer that was still in play, you just knew because it was HP, the support would be there. They would still be supporting that product, and regardless of what version of whatever your client was running, you'd be able to get a drive. Not so much these days. And I'll tell you, have you seen how their, business class equipment is put together these days? Yeah. And you go to try and call for tech support, you run into a problem, you call for tech support. Hi, this is Bob. How can I help you, please? Oh, have you plugged it in? Okay, how much of that can you take before you start having grave reservations about doing a company? I remember HP when HP was the go-to guys. I mean, you wanted professional IT hardware that came with good support for the long haul, you bought HP. If you were on a tight budget, you bought Dell. Okay? It was that simple. Fiorina is the chief executive of HP that destroyed that company in the minds of many in the IT industry. But she comes to the 2016 presidential elections as a real outsider, kinda. I mean, she was on the staff for that kook from Arizona that wants to, all they can think about is war as long as he doesn't have to fight it. Yeah, McCain, yeah, the chicken hawk. McCain. She was, on his campaign. So, she has some questionable political affiliations. But compared to Hillary Clinton, yeah, let me see here. Doo-doo, poo-poo. Doo-doo, poo-poo. Yeah, Fiorina does not stink nearly as bad. So I guess, if we got to have a female president, I guess we could do worse than Fiorina. Although I wonder how many more jobs she's going to ship to India. Boy. Let's see. What else have I got to get through here? I got to talk about this one a little bit. Oh, boy. How about Indiana and religious freedom? It's kind of in the news, It's a newsworthy item. Now, I suppose you remember in the news not too long ago it was reported that an outfit that baked wedding cakes had a customer come in and say, hey, we'd like to have a wedding cake prepared, and instead of a bride and groom, we'd like to have two grooms on the cake. And the baker, being a very religious sort, looked at them and said, look, I'm sorry, but, it's against my religious teaching to be involved in such a thing. I can't do it. So the same customer goes to a florist and says, hey, my male partner and I are going to make it official, and we would like to have flowers for our two-husband wedding. And the florist says, hey, look, I'm sorry, but, I cannot support such an activity. It's against my religious principles. Well, the gay mafia has gotten a little wild and crazy and has been forcing their sexual preference on people who consider it a sexual deviance. Now, here in the United States, regardless of how crazy your opinion might be, you have a right to that opinion. And in theory, a merchant has a right to refuse to do business with anybody that he finds undesirable. Then there was this civil rights movement where people were denied a seat on the bus, or they were denied a seat in a diner, or they were relegated to substandard facilities just because they had a little bit more melatonin melanin in their skin than other folks. And, most thinking people look at that, that is stupid, We got to pass a law that, whether you like people with darker skin than you or not, you should not deny them service, and you really shouldn't. Now, frankly, I feel the same way about homosexuality. I don't care, okay? I really don't care. I have clients who are homosexuals. They're good clients. They need my services. I need their payment. It's a win-win situation. I don't have to socialize with them. I don't have to believe the way they do. I don't have to, accept their homosexuality any more than I expect them to accept my heterosexuality. It's purely a business scenario. And in business, I do business all the time with people who I do not necessarily agree with. But, to me, it's just business. Some folks, it's a little bit more serious for them, particularly some Christian and some Muslim people have such a distaste for homosexuality that they will not even agree to do business with them. And there is a very powerful gay mafia at this point that's forcing the issue. Now, in Indiana, they have now passed a law that says, hey, if you're the wedding photographer, if you're the wedding cake baker, if you're the florist, and you're highly religious and you consider it against your religious beliefs to involve yourself with a homosexual marriage, we reaffirm your right to associate with people that you agree with and not associate with people you don't. Okay? Seems like a fairly benign decision. I mean, what they're doing is they're reinforcing a person's religious faith. They're saying, okay, you have the right to believe a certain way, and you have a right to conduct your life and your business in accord with your religious philosophy. Well, what do you suppose folks think about that? Well, of course, Apple came out. Apple CEO he attacked Indiana this week for passing a religious freedom bill. There's something very dangerous happening in states across the country. Cook, this is the CEO of Apple, may believe Indiana's new law is very dangerous towards gays, but it's not as dangerous as the several countries Apple does business with where they execute gays. Now look, Apple openly does business with Uganda, Nigeria, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. Nations where if they find out you're homosexual, they will execute you. We're not talking about just refusing to sell you a wedding cake. You get beheaded, okay? Now, Apple thinks it's fine to do business with countries that will flat out execute a homosexual, but it's somehow distasteful to Apple that Indiana might allow businesses to decide whether or not to do business with homosexuality, with homosexuals. Jeb Bush, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, Bobby Jindal, Marco Rubio, and Rick Santorum came out supporting the legislation, saying, hey, people ought to have a right to conduct their lives in accord with their religious faith. What do you think on this one? I mean, frankly, it's a complex issue. My own personal philosophy puts me out in left field because I don't have any problem with doing business with anybody. I'm doing business with them, not getting married. So on this one, yeah, you're going to have to make up your own mind. I'm hearing the music. That's it for tonight's Barking at the Moon. I'll be back next Tuesday, and we'll just have to do it all over again. Good night, all. Alrighty, I think we've, let's see, I cleared the connection with the studio. Yeah, let me just go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping here. Sorry, normally I do all this housekeeping in the background before I make the camera live. Yeah, I've still got quite a few articles to get through. This I'm really torn on this issue in Indiana because although I am not a Christian and I sometimes get a little annoyed with folks who think that they're so damn holy that they look down their nose at somebody who doesn't agree with their faith. But I feel very strongly that people should have the right to choose their associations. And if the baker doesn't want to do business with the gay couple, if the florist doesn't want to do business with the gay couple, I'm inclined to say, well, they should have that right. But then I think back, I was out there marching in the 1960s. So that a black man could ride anywhere on the bus where he could find a free seat. And if he went to the diner and had money in his hand, he should not be denied a seat. And, why should the gay couple be denied their damn wedding cake or be denied flowers for their damn wedding? I mean, I'm kind of torn on it. I can see both sides of that argument. I can see both sides. It's a tough one. From my point of view, that's one of those issues that is over my pay grade. It would be nice if the gay couple went to the baker and the baker said, sorry, it's against my religious faith to be involved in your gay marriage. It would be nice if the gay couple were sensible enough just to say, well, hey, you don't want my business? Your competitor down the street does. Sayonara. Every time I've been denied service somewhere, I look the guy right in the eye and say, you don't want my money? That's fine. There's a competitor just down the street who does. That to me is the free market solution to a situation like that. The people who just immediately rush to think, well, got to pass a law. Sometimes I'm just not so sure. I'm not so sure that passing a law is such a good idea. I think Stephen King had one of the most Stephen King. Is everybody out there familiar with Stephen King? He's a writer of horror novels, and frankly, look at this guy. He looks like a horror novel. He had one of the most humorous comments on the thing. He tweeted this. Stephen King's tweet is, Indiana's Religious Freedom Restoration Act is gay discrimination, pure and simple. You can frost a dog turd, but it's still a dog turd. Yeah, hey, you can agree or disagree with Stephen King's opinion on this matter, but like everything else, this is the United States of America. He is entitled to his opinion. Here's the problem with, opinions that don't agree with yours. As soon as you jump up and down and say, well, Stephen King shouldn't have the right to say such a thing. Well, see, as soon as you deny Stephen King the right to express his opinion, you open the door to the next guy who comes in and wants to eliminate your opinion. So, freedom of speech is a double-edged sword. If you expect to have freedom of speech, you should expect to every once in a while have to hear speech that you don't like. And when you do, be man enough to turn around and walk away. Because as much as that guy's got the right to say his piece, you got the right to walk away from him and ignore him. Yeah, let's see. We're going to get into a little bit of financial news here. It's hard to avoid the economy. I mean, the economy. Yeah, I keep hearing this economy is going to collapse any day now. It's going to, you know. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they couldn't keep, you know, stoking this stove for another 10, 15, 20 years. Who knows? But remember back 2008, you know, the banks are going to collapse. The banks are going to collapse. We got to give them trillions of dollars. And the Federal Reserve just printed money and giving it to the banks right and left. Remember that? Remember that was called bailout, you know, the banking bailout? They did it on a somewhat smaller scale during, you know, King Bush the first's reign, you know, when they bailed out the savings and loans. I think that was their test. And, you know, they bailed out the savings and loans to the tune of billions of dollars with a B. And they got away with that okay. So when the banks did the same thing and they started failing, they bailed the banks out to trillions of dollars with a T. Now, you would think that, you know, these bankers would be, you know, they'd be humble pie. Thanks, America, for bailing us out, man. We'd have been in dire straits if y'all hadn't come to our rescue and kept us in business. You know, what can we do to make it up to you, you know? We're so humble, and we have such gratitude for you helping us keep it. You would think that would be their stand on this, right? Guess again. Having already proven that their institutions are above the law in the aftermath of the financial crisis of 2008, executives at the too-big-to-fail-in-jail banks have decided it's time to teach Senate Democrats a lesson. Not being content with trillions in taxpayer-backed bailouts to protect and further consolidate virtually all wealth within their oligarch fiefdoms, these bankers are irate at the notion that a commoner would dare criticize their unassailable crony privilege. What they're talking about is this woman, Warren. However, the worst part of this story is that while Warren is harsher than most of her completely bought and paid for colleagues, she is still pretty meek. I mean, basically all she did was suggest that, you know, the banks might have done dirty. In her most misguided position, she doesn't even support an audit of the largest organized crime institution operating within these United States, the Federal Reserve. Oh, and for those of you who will claim the Fed is already audited, think again. So, you got this Senator Warren, who was uppity enough to talk some trash about how maybe some of those boys up on Wall Street needed a, you know, trip out to the woodshed. And now the too big to fail and too big to jail banks see fit to withhold financial support for Democratic hopefuls. Now, so are these boys contrite? Are they sorry for having done wrong? Do they feel obliged to be better conservators of the nation's money? It's not their money in the first place. It's our money. They make money moving our money from one pile to another. And they believe they have a God-given right to that position and that it should not be questioned. Certainly not by a simple commoner, a peasant, a mere senator of these United States. So they're going to withhold financial contributions from Democratic candidates. Well, I think I told you some time ago that my feeling on the matter is that folks are so sickened by the actions of this guy Sotoro or Obama or whatever his name is, you know, wherever he was born, wherever, I don't care. You know, he's short time at this point. They're so sickened by him that whoever the Democrats put up this time around, a Republican is gonna is going to win the next election. I mean, it's just the way it goes, when the only reason Obama won is because we were so sick of Bush that anything looked better than Bush, and then the Republicans had the nerve to offer us either a Romney or a goofball from Arizona who wants to, big chicken hawk, he'll fight anybody as long as he don't have to do the fighting. So bottom line is, no matter who the Republicans put up, chances are that's going to be the next president of the United States. Now, is it going to be Cruz? Who knows? Is it going to be Bush? They'd like that. They were kind of counting on a Bush-Clinton ticket because, both of those are so firmly in their control that, there's no chance there'd be any surprises. I mean, you get a Bush, you get a Clinton, it doesn't matter. They're both our boys. Not a problem. Could it possibly be a dark horse coming out of left field? Maybe somebody from the business community that's got a reputation for running a, Fortune 20 major international corporation. I mean, right now, of all the Republicans that have been put out there as possibilities, Carly's, probably the least stinky of the bunch. So, what do you think? I think it's pretty much a wrap. I think Americans are sick enough of the Democrats and the excesses of this guy Obama that anything that the Republicans put forward is probably going to look more attractive than yet another Democrat. I mean, we go through this in cycles. We do a Republican. The Republican just pisses us off something, absolutely disgusts us. Okay, we're sick of the Republicans. We vote in a Democrat. The Democrat does exactly the same thing. They make us all kinds of promises. They come in and they sicken us. We get so pissed off that next time around we vote in a Republican. And, you ever start feeling like a ping pong ball when it comes time to vote? Yeah, you're just a ping pong ball. Next time around, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the Republicans put up. They're going to win. I mean, hell, the Republicans could put up, the mayor of Gay Pride Week, and he would be the next president of the United States. Let's see. I do want to get to this. Last week we mentioned a military drill that's going on in some of the southern states. And, there's a lot of various reports. The alternative media, you got to be very suspicious about some of the material that comes out of alternative media. I've heard, stories that, okay, they're practicing to take over local governments. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing, And then I've heard reports, it's just a psyop. They're trying to see how information flows through the alternative media. They're using this purely as a test because they want to see how quick we are to pick up on it, how many of us are offended by it, and how the information about it flows through the system. So it's purely a psyop just to gauge your reaction. Sounds reasonable. I mean, we've seen them do that type of thing before, so maybe. But then, today I heard a slightly different spin on it. We have seen escalation of events in the Middle East to the point where, it's like, all of a sudden Saudi Arabia is fighting in Yemen. I mean, it seems the whole Middle East is coming unglued. It wouldn't take much of a push to send it into absolute chaos if it's not already there. So the proposal came out today that what we might have going on here is training for a live-action invasion by the United States and its allies into the Middle East. And you can see how they've taken the southern states of the United States. They've designated Texas as the proxy for Iran and California as the proxy for Israel. And they're divvying up the pieces of the pie, trying to, and they're practicing how they're going. What they have found is that, the terrain in certain states is similar to the terrain in these Middle Eastern countries. And that what we may be witnessing is we may be witnessing military exercises in preparation for a full-scale invasion of the Middle East. Kind of makes you wonder what could be the trigger that ignites such an invasion. Now, typically, if you're going to go invade some foreign country and kick their ass, you got to have some kind of a justification. You got to have some kind of good reason, like, 19 Arabs flying airplanes into buildings, knock down a building. We got to go kick ass. You just happen, pick some names out of the hat of the, names of people that you don't like, blame them for whatever happened, and go kick ass. That's how this is done. So you have to be looking for it at this point. If this big military training exercise that's going on in numerous states across the southwest United States, if this is indeed practice for a full-out invasion of the Middle East, you got to be waiting. You got to be looking for the false flag that they're going to use as the boogeyman to justify the invasion. First, they got to get all trained up, test their equipment, make sure that everything's working right, everything's ready to go. Then they got to get the motivator out there to get you excited enough to send your blood and treasure thousands of miles away to kick the ass of some poor guy with brown skin who probably never did nothing to you. Yet another possibility. Is this the truth? Only time will tell. We don't know the truth. As with all things, truth is subjective. I've looked at 3, 4, 5, 6 different scenarios on this. Any one of them, or possibly all of them, could have some vestiges of truth, some component, some little tidbit. So perhaps it's a piece of this explanation, a piece of that one, and a piece of something else. Perhaps that will turn out to be what the real truth is. Just remember, the winners write the history. Not necessarily the truth, just the history that suits the winners. And that is it for tonight's planned presentation. That is the material that I had wanted to cover tonight. Obviously, there were a number of items I was not able to fit into the to the Rents broadcast. That happens quite often. Sometimes I bite off a little bit more than I can chew, or there's more in the news than I can fit into the limited time slot I've got on Rents. But at this point, I'm looking to the audience. What was the hot item in the news from your perspective? What really killer issue was in the news during the last week that I neglected, that got past me? So what do you think? Those of you who are still hanging out in the chat room there, was there any hot item I missed that you think we ought to discuss? Well, you think Harry Reid got poked in the eye by his lover boy? Could be. I don't know. Frankly, I think after that Bundy Ranch incident where he was supposed to scarf up all that land and turn it over to the Chinese for their solar farm, he failed miserably in that task. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the Chinese tongue didn't come kick his ass. Now, whether it was his boyfriend that beat him up or not, I don't know. Obviously the story in the media is that he, fell off a piece of exercise equipment. Yeah, right. Looks to me like he got the crap kicked out of him. ISIS is a CIA creation. Well, of course. Typically, the United States goes out of its way to create an enemy, to motivate you to spend your treasure and the blood of your children. That's how they keep the war machine financed. They got to get you scared. They got to keep you in a constant state of fear, so you will buy into these continued wars. I think the United States has been around for about, I don't know, 250 years or so, and how many of those years have we been at peace? I think in my lifetime, I think I can only think of maybe 3 or 4 years where the United States was at peace. It seems like we've always been at war with somebody or another. At what point has there been enough war? Vaccine adjuvants damaging the brain. Well, that's obviously that's not a new report. Maury King is mentioning that I can't even Tomajenovic, Dr. Lucija Tomajenovic on vaccine adjuvants damaging the brain. That's not a new story. That's been around there. One of these. I will try and deal with that one in depth one of these evenings. I think her report was related to aluminum. I mean, it's not bad enough they're putting mercury in the vaccines. Now they're starting to use aluminum as an adjuvant, like instant Alzheimer's, give you an injection of Alzheimer's. When I was a kid, we never heard of anybody who was allergic to peanuts. I mean, that was unheard of. Everybody could eat peanuts. I mean, my God, peanut butter and jelly sandwich was everybody's favorite snack after school. And now, what happened? Nowadays, it seems like everybody's allergic to peanuts. What the hell happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. They started using peanut oil as an adjuvant in vaccines, back in the 1970s and 80s. And, we wonder why we got all these people now that are allergic to peanuts. And now, yeah. Oh, really? 60 Minutes did a report on brain tumors being cured with polio vaccine injections. Okay. Yeah, but is the cure worse than the disease? I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah, the vaccines are kind of a scary proposition. It wasn't too long ago, I had a really, really, really bad sinus infection. This was, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I mean, I had a sinus infection that was so bad, I felt like my head was about to explode, and there were a number of times when I was in such pain. I was seriously considering biting off the barrel of my .38 because it was just my God, if this is how the rest of my life is going to be, maybe it's time to check out gracefully. So yeah, it was a brutal sinus infection. I had let it go too long. I kept thinking, it's going to go away on its own. It's going to go away on its own. I'll heal. I'll just wait. I'll wait it out, and it'll be fine. And it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. Finally, I just couldn't take it anymore. I went to a doctor. And I said, "Doctor, get out your horse syringe. I need the, extra strong antibiotic. I got a sinus infection that's killing me." And he got his horse needle out. I swear that syringe was, 2 feet long. That's my story. Sticking to it. So at that time, I was so bad off that even eating the barrel on my .38 was starting to look like a good idea. So I figured, what have I got to lose? Okay, hit me with the best stuff you got. Let's see what you got, Doc. And man, I'll tell you what, he pumped me full of these antibiotics. Gave me, and the interesting thing is no sooner did he hit me with that antibiotic, 10, 15 minutes later, I started feeling better. And over the course of about a week or 10 days, I'd taken the pills that they gave me to supplement the injection. The sinus infection was gone. So, am I 100% dead set against getting any injection? Hell no. I mean, if you got a sinus infection that is as bad as what I had, believe me, you would stand in line. You would pay any price for a shot that would solve that problem. Okay? Where I differ on vaccines is, you're telling me you want to inject me with something to solve a problem that I do not have. Okay? And you're telling me that I have no right to decide what's going to be injected into my body. That is where I draw the line. Now, if you want to go down and get the latest flu shot, hey, as far as I'm concerned, that is your business. You should indeed, like any educated consumer, know what it is you're putting in your body. You may have to read the fine print on the little document that comes with the vaccine. But, hey, if you read all the ingredients on it, okay, it's got, let's see, a little bit of aluminum, it's got a little bit of mercury. Okay, that sounds good to me. Go ahead and inject me, doc. Hey, that's your decision. That is your decision. I'm not going to tell you can't take that. I wouldn't put that in my body, not on purpose. Like everything else, you should have the right to decide. Where I think we've gone too far is when all of a sudden the government says it's a matter of national security. You will be injected whether you like it or not. That's where I draw the line. Nobody should be telling me I have to inject something in my body that I don't want. MRSA, yeah, that's strangely enough. There's a preparation from about 900 A.D. that appears to work. It involves onions, garlic, cow bile, and a few other ingredients. Apparently, it kills MRSA on the spot. But colloidal silver in a glycerin solution does a pretty good job on MRSA. There's also a preparation made from garlic called allicin that seems to be very good against MRSA. I mean, there are treatments now. Now, here's the thing: people want an instant fix. I mean, if you've got MRSA, if you've got this flesh-eating bacteria chewing a hole in your flesh, and you put colloidal silver in a glycerin-based solution on this thing, and you treat it with allicin and a number of other things, if you're expecting it to cure the MRSA instantaneously, you're going to be sorely disappointed. You have to keep applying this stuff for weeks to knock out the MRSA. But it does work. You can't expect an instant cure. That only happens on Star Trek. So what a lot of people do is they'll take the colloidal silver salve and they'll put it on there. Oh, didn't fix it. Oh no, shit's no good. Well, be patient. Keep applying it. 3 times a day, every day for about a week, 10 days. You will start to notice it going down, and after a period of about 3-4 weeks, chances are you will be MRSA free. Bald's eye salve, yeah. What's the deal with Planet X? I don't know. I've not seen it. I understand, there is something coming in from the south. I can't see it in my telescope, so I don't know. I don't know what the deal with, there is something coming in, okay? And some people call it Planet X, some people call it Nibiru, and some people are, equating it with Sitchin's stories of the Anunnaki and all that nonsense. Whatever is coming in is probably a long period comet. It's just a really, really, really big one. It's not going to come in anywhere near the orbit of the Earth. It's coming in from the south, well below us on the ecliptic. It's not going to come anywhere near the Earth. Now, because this thing is so big, though, it may have a trail of smaller objects coming in with it. Most all comets, as they swing around the sun, they leave projectiles in our path. The Perseid and Geminid meteor showers that happen, every year, like clockwork. That those are caused by us passing through the trails left by comets that left a bunch of dust in the way. And as we go through, we run through their trail. Now, because this long period comet that's coming in is pretty damn big. Now I'm not sure how big it is, but apparently it's the size of a good sized moon. Some say it's bigger than the planet Earth. I don't know. Haven't seen the science on that. But regardless, it's bigger than the average comet. So it might be trailing along some pretty big junk behind it. Now, whether this thing's going to lay down a path of projectiles that we might run into and in our next orbit through that space, hard to say. But is this the planet killer that's going to knock us out like the dinosaurs got knocked out? I think the chances of that are pretty slim. MRSA's been described to me as a flesh-eating bacteria. Ebola is somewhat more virulent. Let's see, 60 years from now, the comet is projected to hit Earth on a return visit. It's a big comet, maybe. I don't know. Frankly, I'm more worried about all the damn nuclear reactors. If we got hit by a big hunk of space debris, and it happened to hit, say something, the size of a football field, slammed into the Atlantic Ocean, a couple hundred miles off the coast of the United States, we would probably have about a dozen Fukushima-style incidences all up and down the east coast of the United States. That would be my fear concerning spaceborne projectiles. Well, I've got to agree with that, Tommy Reed. I'll tell you, any day I wake up and I got sun in my eyes instead of dirt, that's a good day. You betcha. You betcha. And I think more of us should start living our lives as if we might die tomorrow. It might be a better place. I don't know any other killer items that I neglected to cover tonight, guys. I'm getting kind of tired. It's about time for me to bail out of here. But if there's one more really killer item that we need to talk about before I shut this down, let's get her up in the chat room now, or you're gonna have to hold your peace until next week. Oil prices dropping. It's hard to say. I will say that the last time oil dropped in price as precipitously as it has this time was just before the crash of 2008. So all the signs are staring us right in the face that we're going to have a major economic upheaval in the near term, and they're just printing up money and lending. I think the big thing is car loans right now. I mean, if you got a heartbeat, you can have a car loan. So the next big bubble might be car loans, might blow up like home mortgages did What do I think about Bitcoin? I don't think about Bitcoin. It's just another fiat currency as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people disagree with me. I know Zero Fossil Fuel, who's a regular in the audience. He's big on cyber currencies. He's mining some sort of a cyber currency. From my point of view, if it has no tangible, well-respected value, it's just another fiat currency. And it could be the a test. For all I know, the powers that be are using Bitcoin as a test to see how accepting we might be of a cyber currency, because they really want to eliminate cash. They do not wish you to have the anonymity of having a wad of cash in your pocket and doing business anonymously. If you've got a cyber currency where they can track every Bitcoin coming in and every Bitcoin going out and tax both ends of the transaction, that's their ideal scenario. So Bitcoin, although it's kind of loosey-goosey and you think it's an alternative currency right now, to me it's kind of ominous. The idea of computer-based currency scares me to death. As much as I hate the idea of being married to the U.S. dollar, at least having that U.S. dollar in my pocket and being able to conduct my business in total anonymity is preferable to me than using my credit card or using a Bitcoin type scenario. But like everything else, take my opinion with a grain of salt. My opinion and $5, get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Oh, I said their name. I made myself a promise. I would never give them any airtime. Those bastards, they charge too much for a cup of coffee. Well, I think the items in the chat room are starting to dry up, and I'm getting tired, and my voice is starting to go, so it's probably about time. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bag it for tonight. I want to thank everybody for spending their Tuesday evening listening to me bark at the moon as if I knew what the hell I was talking about. But yeah, you can bet on it. I'll be back next week, and we'll just do it all over again. Good night, everybody. Thanks again.
Ooh, the love of the turnarounds. None of us are leaving here alive. Whoa, what will you say? What will you say? And what will you do? What will you do? What will you do? Oh, I'm calling out to you. Won't you turn around? Oh, I'm calling out to you. Won't you won't you turn around?